Ladies and gentlemen, Chicago doesn't whisper. Chicago warns. And right now, the streets are screaming a story nobody is ready to hear. Because what if everything you thought you knew about OTF was wrong? What if the truth you were fed was only half the picture, and the other half was buried where loyalty, fear, and money all meet? Tonight, we're pulling on a thread that the industry never wanted touched, and the deeper we go, the uglier it gets. Fans are shocked. Emotions are already running high. Old clips are being dragged back into daylight. Lyrics are getting reread like confession notes. And one question is tearing through the culture like wildfire. Why is Chicago saying the story doesn't add up? It's not bloggers talking. It's not trolls chasing views. People who were there are starting to murmur. And when the streets start talking, pretending you can't hear them doesn't make the sound go away. Because this isn't about music anymore. It's about promises that broke. It's about people who disappeared when the spotlight moved. It's about a truth that refuses to stay buried. So if you think you're ready, if you believe every legend has only one side, then stay right here. Because the story you're about to hear is not the one you were told. Chicago wakes up different when a story starts breathing on its own. The air feels heavier. Sidewalks feel louder. And when the phrase OTF exposed began whispering across timelines, it didn't sound like gossip. It sounded like warning. Not from bloggers. Not from reaction channels. From voices that claimed to be from the concrete itself. The truth ain't what we were told, they said. And once that sentence landed, it refused to leave. It started with a few anonymous posts. No profile pictures. No long captions. Just short lines that looked like they were written by someone who didn't want to be found. Y'all worship a story that got holes in it. Then another account replied from a different city, Chicago been new. Within an hour, the comments stopped being jokes and started becoming questions. Why now? Who talking? Why does it feel like something is about to spill? Fans rushed to old interviews like archaeologists digging through dirt for bones. They pulled up clips where smiles didn't reach eyes, where certain names were dodged, where jokes sounded like shields. Every laugh got replayed. Every pause got measured. People started saying things like, "Watch how he look right here." As if the truth was hiding in someone's blink. Then somebody posted what they claimed was a message from an old block phone. Grainy. Crooked. The screenshot looked like it had been passed hand to hand. The message read, "If y'all only knew who really moved what." Nothing else. Just that. It got 60,000 shares in under an hour. Everyone assumed it meant money. Others swore it meant power. A few said it meant blood. Nobody had evidence, but everybody had imagination. Chicago reacted quietly at first. Not in comments. In calls. People texting family they hadn't checked on in years. Loose conversations between people who used to be tight. Old faces started appearing in stories again, like ghosts testing doors. A former neighborhood connector who'd been off social media for a decade suddenly posted a photo of a dark street corner with just one caption, "Not everything buried stayed dead." That photo went viral without ever being reposted by a blog. OTF fans stood in defense from the jump. That was expected. To them, the story was sacred. Built with pain. Built with pride. Built with a name that didn't get to grow old. They reminded everybody of nights lost and dreams cut short. They reminded the internet that you don't drag legends like they're rumors. And they were loud about it. But something strange happened. Some of the loudest voices weren't outsiders. They were from Chicago. People who claimed no partnerships. No clout. No blog deals. Just childhood memories and worn-out sneakers. They spoke in pieces, not paragraphs. "Y'all think the city sweet," one wrote. "It never was." Another commented, "The truth don't live in interviews." A third simply posted, "Ask the people who ain't famous." That hit harder than anyone expected. Because suddenly the audience realized the story might not live where the cameras are. Somebody dug up a clip from years earlier. A group sit-down where laughter had filled the room loud enough to drown out tension. Fans used to love that clip. Now they froze it on one frame, the moment one man went quiet when another started talking about the past. The silence didn't feel like nothing anymore. It felt like something everyone had ignored. Then came the rumor that shifted the energy. Not about a lyric. Not about a feud. About a meeting. Allegedly, years ago, there was a sit-down that never made it public. A closed-door moment where feelings got heavier than voices. Some claimed it was meant to heal. Others claimed it did the opposite. The only confirmed detail? Every person who walked in didn't walk out the same. People chased that rumor like they were chasing smoke. No video. No photos. Just whispers from people who claimed they knew someone who knew someone. Some dismissed it instantly. Others leaned in. Because something about it felt too quiet to be fake. Then one of the city's oldest club promoters posted a story late at night. Just text. White letters on a black screen. Some stories are told loud to hide the quiet parts. Just silence where there used to be noise. People asked, why now? Why when nothing new dropped? Why when nobody publicly accused anybody? The answer felt worse than the question. Because it looked like people weren't responding because they were listening. Then came the call that nobody expected. A radio host from the South Side went live on air one morning sounding like he hadn't slept. He didn't name names. He didn't accuse. But he said something that cracked the morning wide open. Everybody arguing like this is a movie, he said. This ain't no screen. This is a city. Listeners froze. He continued. Y'all don't see what didn't get cameras on it. Y'all don't hear what don't trend. His voice dropped low. But some of us been hearing it. Phones rang in the studio. Producers waved him off. He leaned closer to the mic anyway. Not every story comes with a villain, he said. Some come with guilt. The call cut abruptly. And everywhere, people felt it. Not just on social media. In their chest. The next rumor came harder. Someone leaked what they claimed was a series of private texts between unknown parties, speaking in codes that nobody could confirm but everyone wanted to decode. The messages hinted at favors, not friendships. Transactions, not help. And the final line, the one that changed everything, read. He was supposed to move, but he stayed. That sentence haunted the internet. Move where? Stay for what? Who was he? Everybody had a theory. Nobody had proof. Chicago didn't provide receipts. Chicago provided tone. The city didn't scream. It sighed. Old videos surfaced showing empty benches where familiar faces once sat. Walls that still held names painted in colors that were starting to fade. People began saying the city remembered things the internet never recorded. A storyteller from a corner bar uploaded a photo of a cracked mirror with the caption, "Not every reflection tells the same truth." Fans stopped fighting for a moment. Because something about this didn't sound like drama. It sounded like confession. Then two words started trending at the same time. Hidden hands. Nobody could agree on what they meant. Everyone agreed they felt wrong. A well-known Chicago producer added fuel when he tweeted, "Money moved different when grief sitting in the driver's seat." That one stayed up longer than the others. Maybe because nobody could decide if it was cryptic or just sad. People started asking the unaskable. What if the story they believed was only the part that survived the cameras? What if the rest got buried in silence? What if the truth wasn't lied about? It was just never told? The city wasn't coming out with a press conference. It was whispering through people. Through art. Through captions. Through songs that sounded fun but now felt heavier. Someone shared a screen recording of a performance from years back. A moment where the crowd screamed and the stage lights washed everything gold. Fans celebrated that clip for ages. Now they noticed something different. When the music stopped, when the applause died down, the artist's face fell for a second. Nobody had ever talked about that second before. Now it was everything. Then came the final push. A post from a long shut-down account resurfaced. A 4-year-old caption written at 3 a.m. that nobody noticed when it was new. I carry secrets that ain't mine to tell." That line exploded. People went digging. Who wrote it? Why that night? What happened that month? Suddenly timelines were rebuilt like crime scenes. Old dates lined up with rumors. Old silences lined up with heartbreak. And slowly, something began to take shape that nobody wanted. Not an accusation. A possibility. Maybe the story wasn't wrong. Maybe it was unfinished. And unfinished stories don't die. They wait. They sit quietly until the world is loud enough to finally hear them. Chicago wasn't shouting. But it wasn't quiet either. It was humming. Like a city remembering something it had tried to forget. And as the whispers grew louder, one thing became clear. The whispers didn't fade, they multiplied. And soon Chicago didn't feel like a city anymore. It felt like a room full of people talking at once without ever looking at each other. Every corner online started sounding like a back alley conversation. The same sentence kept repeating in different forms, from different mouths, from different accounts. The truth ain't what we were told. It wasn't just fans saying it now. It was studio engineers. It was childhood friends who never went viral. It was random profiles with 3 followers who spoke like they had stood 10 toes in places most people only heard about in songs. And the more the internet tried to dismiss them, the louder the feeling grew that something ugly had been sitting under the story for a long time, waiting for the right moment to breathe. One night, a former street blog administrator posted an audio clip that sounded like it was recorded in a moving car. The voice was hoarse, nervous, whispering more than speaking, saying nothing clearly and everything at the same time. "Everybody keep naming faces," the voice said, but the hands never got names. That clip lasted only 11 seconds. It didn't explain anything. It didn't accuse anyone. But the implication was enough to keep people awake. The phrase "hands without faces" started trending by sunrise, and nobody could explain why it sounded so familiar. It echoed through posts like a rumor that had been rehearsed. Then came the pictures that didn't look like pictures. A single image posted from an unverified account showed a dimly lit hallway with doors on both sides and nothing else. No context, no caption, no date. Just a hallway. But the internet stared at it the same way people stare at burning buildings. Some claimed it was just a stock photo. Others swore they recognized the place. Somebody insisted it was inside a studio building. Somebody else said it looked like an office corridor from a specific neighborhood. Nobody agreed. Everybody argued. But the image traveled like truth because it felt like the inside of something nobody wanted to be inside of. In the middle of all of this, a surprising voice spoke up. Somebody who had been around long enough to be ignored and respected at the same time. Not a rapper. Not a blogger. Just a woman known for feeding the neighborhood kids and telling stories that never made headlines. Her post wasn't long. It wasn't dramatic. It said, "When boys grow into legends, they still cry like boys when nobody looking." And that's when things slowed for a moment. Because that sounded real in a way no rumor ever had. The replies were softer under her post. People talked about loss instead of loyalty. They talked about kids instead of kings. They talked about nights instead of names. But the internet never stays still for long. Another rumor rolled in like thunder. Someone claimed there had been letters. Old ones. Written back when nobody had money and everybody had dreams. Letters where feelings had no filters and loyalty had no hashtags. Supposedly, those letters painted a story that didn't match the legend. A story full of doubt, fear, love that didn't know where to go, and anger that didn't know how to sit still. After the rumor spread, buyers appeared out of nowhere offering money for anything handwritten, anything old, anything that smelled like history. People started digging through shoeboxes and closets, hoping to find paper that could change everything. And then, like a match to dry leaves, a woman went live claiming she had known the family before the fame broke the house. She didn't show her face. She didn't say where she lived. But her voice moved carefully, like each word was glass. She said grief doesn't heal everything. Sometimes it rots things instead. She said the world thinks funerals end stories, but sometimes they start them. And when someone asked her directly if the truth had been hidden on purpose, she paused for so long the chat thought she had frozen. Then she replied, "Truth don't need hiding. Silence does the job on its own." Those 8 words felt heavier than any confession. Chicago radio stations picked up on the mood, even if they didn't address the rumors directly. Songs suddenly sounded different. Lyrics about loyalty hit like threats instead of promises. DJ shout-outs felt like eulogies even when nobody had died that day. Everything had a shadow on it now. And it wasn't coming from the past. It was coming from something unfinished. In private messages, people were talking different. Less flame emojis. More question marks. Some fans admitted they didn't want to choose sides anymore. They just wanted peace for people who looked like they were bleeding through the screen. A few posted letters to nobody in particular, apologizing to a story they once worshipped too hard. Then came the claim that something big was coming. Not a drop. Not a diss. Not a response video. A meeting. A quiet one. Allegedly arranged not by managers or labels, but by someone who didn't care about either. Someone tied to memory, not money. According to whispers, it was meant to put an end to the noise. According to others, it was meant to draw a line nobody could unsee. Nobody could confirm it. But everybody waited for it. As days passed with no announcements, the internet created its own ending. Some declared the rumors dead. Others swore the silence meant everything. Meanwhile, people in Chicago said something different. They said the city felt tense in a familiar way. Not scared. Not excited. Just alert. Like it had felt years ago when something big was about to move and nobody knew in which direction. Street corners grew quiet earlier. Studio lights stayed on later. People hugged longer than usual. Then someone connected to the scene posted the type of message that never feels casual. "I just want everyone alive." That was it. No drama. No call-out. Just a wish. It went viral without a single share. People reposted it like a prayer. And then, without warning, a leaked email appeared online. No logos. No sender name. Just text. Lines about brand protection, narrative risk, and family image. The email read like it came from a boardroom, not a block. Fans stared at it with narrowed eyes because it sounded too professional to be street and too heartless to be family. People argued whether it was fake. They argued whether it was stolen. They argued whether it was exaggerated. But one thing felt familiar in it: the coldness. When grief becomes business, it grows a different face. The following night, a blurred video clip surfaced showing what looked like a private argument outside a building with security guards standing too still. Someone's voice raised. Someone else walked away. The clip ended before anything happened. But the body language traveled. And body language tells truths mouths refuse to say. A producer went public next, saying the industry didn't want anything shaking too loud. He didn't mention OTF. He didn't mention names. He just talked about keeping stories friendly and protecting the brand. People took that personally anyway. They started asking if legends are allowed to be human or if they have to stay frozen forever, smiling from posters and playlists while the people behind them carry everything. It wasn't just fans involved anymore. Artists started posting cryptic messages about honesty. Poets quoted lines about cages made of gold. Painters shared canvases that looked like faces melting. Culture itself felt like it was having a nervous breakdown. Somewhere in the middle of all this noise, someone quietly asked the question nobody had been brave enough to ask yet. What if nobody here is lying, and everyone is just hurting from different directions? That question didn't trend. It didn't get screenshotted. But it stuck with people in ways rumors never could. It lingered like a bruise you keep pressing even though you know it hurts. As the weeks dragged on with no confirmations, the energy changed. It didn't calm down. It got heavier. Murmurs replaced shouting. Assumptions replaced declarations. The story stopped feeling like something you watched and started feeling like something you lived inside. Then came another disappearance. A user who had been posting inside feeling messages suddenly went dark. Not deleted. Just frozen. Their last post read, "Some truths don't go public." They go personal. Nobody knew if they meant they were done talking or done hiding. People noticed anyway. Finally, a rumor flickered in the dark that shook people awake. When the silence finally broke, it didn't come with a trailer, a teaser, or even a rumor first. It came with a face most people had never seen before, but would never forget after that night. A grainy video appeared just before midnight, uploaded from an account with no history and no followers. The clip showed a man sitting in a parked car, engine off, dashboard lights glowing against his jaw. His eyes looked like they'd been awake too long. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't promote anything. He just exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years and said, "I was there." Nobody knew what there meant yet. But nobody clicked away either. He talked about being young when everything was loud and being old enough to regret it now. He talked about sharing rooms with dreams and waking up next to reality. He said when legends are being built, somebody always gets left under the bricks. That's when he said the most dangerous thing anyone had said in weeks. What you call lies sometimes is just what survived. The chat froze again. The idea that truth doesn't always win, it just lasts longer than lies, made people stare at their own screens like mirrors. Then he spoke about pressure. Not the kind that trends. The kind that crushes. He said families don't just break when someone dies. They crack when they live without them. He described nights when rooms were full but nobody felt together. He implied that grief had taken the driver's seat and nobody ever grabbed the wheel back. When someone in the chat demanded he name names, he shook his head slowly. "Names ain't the disease," he said. "Pain is." That line hit different. Because it didn't sound like drama. It sounded like a diagnosis. He claimed nothing was staged. Nothing was clean. Nothing was as simple as fans wanted it to be. According to him, the story people loved was built on heartbreak that nobody knew how to talk about. "You want villains," he said. "But villains don't cry at funerals." His voice cracked there, just for a second, and every person watching felt it. For the first time in weeks, the internet didn't scream back. It listened. Then he addressed the elephant everybody pretended not to see. "Y'all keep asking if the truth was hidden," he said. "What if it was just buried?" He explained how fame changes the temperature of a room. How some people grow louder and others disappear. How history is written by who survives, not by who hurts the most. He admitted mistakes were made, on all sides, by all hearts. He didn't defend anybody. He didn't attack anybody. He just described something that felt too human for a headline. And then, in a moment that nobody predicted, he did something dangerous in a world addicted to spectacle. He got quiet. Not silent. Just soft. "I ain't trying to blow nothing up," he whispered. "I'm trying to let something breathe." The live stream ended without a big explosive line. No mic drop. No cliffhanger. Just a man staring at the dashboard like he had someplace he didn't know how to drive to yet. But the impact? Louder than anything else. For the first time, the culture didn't feel entertained. It felt tired. Not bored. Tired. From choosing sides. From carrying stories that were never theirs. From defending people who never asked to be defended. Something shifted online that night. Not everywhere, but enough. People stopped posting reaction clips. They started writing paragraphs. Long ones. About brothers they lost. About mothers who never healed. About friends who became strangers after funerals. About how pain doesn't care who you used to be. The comment sections across platforms changed temperature. Less fire. More tears. Less jokes. More honesty. It felt like the internet discovered grief at the same time and didn't know what to do with it. Then something even more unexpected happened. A message appeared on Lil Durk's page. Not a statement. Not a denial. Just a picture. Two hands. Old. Wrinkled. Holding each other. No caption. Fans stared at it like it was a riddle. Some saw forgiveness. Some saw distance. Some saw nothing but two hands trying to hold together what the world tried to tear apart. People debated its meaning for days. But nobody could deny how it made them feel. Even Tim posted something that night too. No video. No rant. Just words on a black background. I don't want to win. I just want it to stop hurting. And for the first time in this entire saga, nobody attacked him. Nobody defended him. People just replied with hearts. Not flaming ones. The soft kind. The ones you send when you don't have words anymore. Chicago didn't erupt. It exhaled. Still scarred. Still loud. But breathing again. Some bloggers tried to keep the drama alive, but it didn't hit the same. You can't sensationalize a sigh. You can't monetize a moment of peace. Views dropped off on the chaos videos. Engagement leaned toward honesty. Even the algorithm seemed confused. It wasn't built for healing. It was built for loops. But something had cracked its rhythm. The city itself began to sound different online. Less accusation. More memory. People started sharing old photos of block parties instead of courtrooms. Childhood pictures instead of crime stories. It felt like a rewind nobody foresaw. There were no winners. No confessions. No dramatic arrests. No reveal that tied everything into a bow. Because real life doesn't write like that. It just keeps going. Different now. Softer. Bruised but breathing. Nobody got exposed. But something got understood. And sometimes, that's heavier than proof. The streets didn't say the truth wasn't what we were told. They said it was bigger than what we were given. And in that space, between fact and feeling, between legend and loss, Chicago finally spoke without yelling. Now, let me ask you something real. Not for the internet. Not for the comments. For you. Do you think this was ever about exposing someone? Or was it about exposing pain? Do you believe there's always a villain in every story? Or can grief do enough damage on its own? Would you want the truth if it hurt everyone involved? Or would you rather live with a version that feels safer? This story didn't end with arrests, confessions, or headlines. It ended with something harder to sit with. Humanity. So I need to know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Not as a fan. As a person. Tell me whether you think the city was warning us, or healing in public. Tell me whether silence is loyalty, or the slowest kind of destruction. And if this story made you feel something, not just react, then hit that like button. Subscribe if you're here for stories that don't just chase drama, but chase truth, emotion, and meaning. And turn notifications on. Not because something's about to explode, but because sometimes the quiet matters more. Stay awake. Stay human. And remember, sometimes the loudest truth is the one whispered from a broken heart.